After several hours of classes and short breaks, the time for us to have lunch finally arrived. Since Misaki disapproved of the idea, I figured it was best not to swing by her classroom to meet her. Was she annoyed with me about this morning? I texted Mio about it out of concern, but her response came as a spot of good news.
レイ先輩と美咲ちゃん、教室の中ですっごく噂になってますよ。付き合ってるんじゃないかってクラスの女の子が話してます。
I get it, so I wasn't being a bother after all. She was just embarrassed. Yeah, that's good. I guess that explains why you are in high spirits.
先輩はいきなり何言っちゃってるの？
Oh, just how I'm glad to see you act like you're enjoying yourself.
先輩こそ随分と浮かれてるみたいだけど。
Well, duh! I'm gonna be feeding you today after all.
は？
We'll do the whole say ah thing, alright? I'm pretty embarrassed myself, so try to chill out.
恥ずかしいならやらなきゃいいじゃない。しかも安心って何よ。
Well, all things considered, the feedie's supposed to be more embarrassed than the feeder, right? But right now, I'm more embarrassed about this than you are, so that's why I want you to chill out.
先輩の方が恥ずかしいの？
Well, you know, saying ah does that to a person. But you've already done that to me once before, so I need to return the favor.
いつの話よ。捏造しないで。
During our date in the park, and furthermore, it was the mouth-to-mouth kind of feeding.
あれはそういうつもりじゃなくて。
Well, anyway, lunchboxes, open sesame! Wow, yours looks pretty good too. Now say ah.
だからいきなりすぎるのよ。しかも私のお弁当なのに勝手に開けてるし。
It'd be tough to open it with one hand, wouldn't it? Now say ah.
だからもう順序ってものがあるでしょ。私の話を聞きなさいよ。
Such was how the first day of eating lunch together like this went. My life as Misaki's nurse, day 2. The first time around, saying ah was incredibly embarrassing for her, but this time around, she seemed a little more willing to go along with it. Say ah.
仕方ないわね。
Just take it slow and be sure to chew your food well.
子供扱いはしないで。
Hey, you shouldn't talk and eat at the same time.
このくらいはちゃんとしつけられてるわよ。バカにしないでよね。
My life as Misaki's nurse, day 3. Noticing that it was quite a walk to the roof, we decided to relocate to the courtyard this time. I somehow had a hunch that people were watching from higher ground, but I figured it wasn't anything to worry about.
ほら、先輩、早くしなさいよ。
Maybe Misaki was worried about it too, but it didn't look like she'd noticed. Alright then, here. Well, it's embarrassing and all.
私だって恥ずかしいんだからおあいこでしょ。
Alright, say
ちょっともういきなりすぎなのよ。早く食べさせなさいよね。
You were that hungry? Haha, you really are quite the glutton.
意地悪しないでよ。
We had an enjoyable meal that day. My life as Misaki's nurse, day 4.
もう前庭でご飯食べないから。
Hey, I'm not at fault for that, alright? Evidently, Misaki's friends had seen us eating in the courtyard the day before. She must have been teased about it, though I heard from Michiru that they were quite jealous. In any case, we'd ended up back on the rooftop for lunch today.
先輩は嫌じゃないの？噂されてからかわれるなんて。
I don't mind if they're doing it to you. Hell, it's almost like they're rooting for us, so I'm happy.
4人って付き合ってるわけじゃないでしょ？根も葉もなくもないけど、私は平気じゃないの。ご飯は落ち着いて食べるべきでしょ？だから前庭で食べるのは禁止なの。
Well, let's just stick to the roof then. It's the best spot for you to eat in peace after all.
そう。ありがとう。
Hell, I was hoping she'd say that. We can have a lot more fun with lunch if there's no one else around.
それじゃあ早く食べて、その後ゆっくりしましょう。
What a little glutton, though I'd already teased her about that yesterday, so I opted not to this time. I opened the lunchbox and did the whole say ah thing again. I'd already gotten the hang of it.
先輩が食べさせてくれると美味しさ倍増ね。
Oh, is that a fact? Every now and then she can give me a reaction I wasn't expecting.
先輩も食べてみる？
I'm good. That just give you less to eat yourself. And besides, you wouldn't experience the excitement of being on the receiving end.
それもそうね。手づかみってわけにもいかないし。
This conversation sure was getting rife with insinuation.
コンクールが終わったら先輩にも食べさせてあげるわ。
I wanted to be your cooking then.
任せなさい。先輩のために腕によりをかけて作ってあげるわ。
I wanted to give her some resolve to get well soon, just enough so that I wouldn't be rushing her into things. I didn't know whether she got the message that sickness is all in the mind, but I was willing to try anything if it seemed like it'd produce results.
だからって口移しはもうしないわよ。
I didn't think that far ahead anyway. Though I had a feeling she'd totally do it if I asked her to, best not to say that to her face. After eating, we spent our time relaxing, just as planned. The weather felt nice enough that we could lie on the ground. It felt kinda hard, though. I wonder if I could ask to use her lap as a pillow. Though, considering the slenderness of her legs, I might be too heavy for her to support me. In fact, I ought to offer her my lap to rest on. I'm trying to cheer her up, aren't I? Right. Misaki, wanna rest your head on my lap?
先輩は何でもかんでも急すぎると思うの。
I wouldn't say that. I'm more the type to consider my plan through before I act on it. Even now, I'd been thinking the considerations of the situation over.
じゃあ私に告白してくれた時は？
I totally overshot the mark with that. I guess it was like I couldn't bring myself to not come out and say it.
へえ、そうなんだ。
She nodded happily in agreement and, while still seated, inched ever so slightly closer to me. Our arms touched, and I could feel her weight leaning against me. Isn't it kinda hot out for this?
膝枕の代わりよ。寝転がったら汚れちゃうでしょ。
You seemed alright with it last time, though.
あれは疲れてたのよ。
You're not as tired now?
まあね。
Back then, Misaki was wrecked with worry about being able to perform well enough. She was practicing so obsessively it threw off her sleep schedule and she was becoming discouraged. She was wrecked with anxiety over whether all the effort she'd put in before would produce the results she was aiming for. Hence why I started to help her. I wanted to cheer her up, to help her come up with her own answer. I wonder how much Misaki has changed since all that time went by. She cozily nuzzled her cheek against my shoulder. She seemed very much content and calm. She wasn't showing any signs of weakness or helplessness, but... Are you worried about whether or not you'll make it? She froze only for a moment.
まあね、絶対に治るって保証はないわけだし、出られなかった時のことはいろいろと考えちゃうわね。
She seemed worried, but she showed no signs of being discouraged.
先輩にこれまで付き合ってもらったのに、その成果を発揮できないのは困るかな。それにみちるにもいろいろと言いたいことがあるから。
Like what, if you don't mind me asking, that is?
いろいろよ。おかげで上達したわとか、負けないって意気込みだとか、あとは純粋に競い合いたいっていう気持ちもあるわね。
The spirit of competition, huh? That's a nice kind of relationship.
ライバルって思ってるのは私だけで、一方通行かもしれないけどね。
Misaki pressed on, her voice remaining calm yet determined.
みちると同じ舞台に立って、私にできる最高の演奏を見せつけてやりたいの。同じ立場で、この気持ちがみちるに負けてないって証明したいの。
Her words of determination stirred my heart, enough so that I momentarily held my breath without realizing. Just like when I fell for her performance. Her wordless feelings for me were conveyed very strongly.
出られなくても後悔はしないと思う。だけどね、この気持ちが高まりすぎて、次の機会まで待てそうにないのよ。
I knew full well what Misaki's words were alluding to, thanks to Michiru having told me beforehand. It really was better for me to find out about it. I was filled with so much happiness and excitement, the feelings I couldn't convey were on the verge of bubbling over. That kinda sucks.
本当にね。
Happy, yet also at an impasse, with just a touch of bashfulness mixed in.
最初は結果を出したいだけだったのに、それ以外の理由もできちゃったからね。
All the more reason you'll need to recover then.
そうね。直して最高の演奏ができるようにしないと。
She gave a determined nod while gazing at her right hand.
だけど、もう随分と演奏してない気がするわね。
It hasn't even been a whole week yet, though. Are you worried the pain's getting worse or something?
それはあんまりかな。むしろバイオリンが弾きたくてたまらないのよ。これまでは毎日のように弾いてたし、そろそろ我慢の限界ね。
Hey, hey! You need to rest up and recover first.
わかってるけど、そう言われると余計に演奏したくならない？
I'm serious. It's such a good opportunity for me to watch you performing on stage. Once I'm able to see that, I think I might fall for you all over again.
もう先輩はどうしてそういうこと言うのよ。
Because I can't help but want to say it?
ずるい。私だっていろいろ言いたいのに。散々我慢してモヤモヤを演奏で発散してたのに。そっか。そうなんだ。
Misaki suddenly became rather downcast before she could finish her train of thought. Then, with a look of satisfaction, as if a weight had been lifted from her heart, she continued.
みちるの気持ちがよくわかるわ。
Misaki?
理解したつもりで分かってなかったわ。
I hope you're not just gonna keep what you're insinuating to yourself, though.
そのね、気持ちを届けるって意味を実感したっていうか、みちるが言いたいのはこの気持ちを届けるってことなんだなって。
The smile on her face stole my heart.
ずっと一緒にいたみちるなら込めるものが多くなるのも当然よね。言いたいのに言えない気持ちとか、叶えられないもどかしさだとか。むしろシンプルにしたら収めきれないし、伝えきれないから曲を通して表現するのよ。
Misaki's words of clear determination stirred up a myriad of feelings within myself as well.
先輩、私気持ちを込めて弾くからね。私の全部を捧げるから。先輩へ向けて奏でるから。
I didn't dare ask what she meant. If she had feelings she couldn't put into words, better to wait for that time when she could express them properly. Right, I'll make sure those feelings get through to me. Indeed! I too had a great deal of things I wanted to say to Misaki, a great deal of feelings I harbored for her, which I wanted to convey. But right now, they could not be put into words. I'm definitely excited for the concert. We both smiled. Holding hands, the mutual warmth of our skin was conveyed between us. For now, that was more than enough. The day of the contest. Since we were blessed with quite fine weather on this day, Misaki, Michiru and I were all able to walk to school together. Neither of them showed the slightest hint of being nervous. Perhaps they were accustomed to the commute to school or to the location itself. If anything, although I was only a spectator, I felt like I was the most nervous one of the pack.
ミチルは会場になってる行動を確認してくるんだっけ？ええ、この手のコンクールは初めてですから、念には念を入れてチェックはしておこうかと。問題はないと思いますが、兄様の前で下手な演奏はできませんからね。念を入れるんだったら、事前に場所くらい確認しておきなさいよ。あら、手厳しい。しかも初めてステージで演奏するとか、他の参加者をなめてるわ。ですから、それを含めて問題ないと判断したのです。へえ。
Michiru was exceptionally bloody-minded today. Not only that, rather than getting upset, Misaki was able to stand tall in the face of her confidence today and make for a good rival. The two of them were both in fighting spirits, but if anything, even though I was only a spectator, etc.
では、兄様、行ってまいりますね。
You don't need me to tag along?
兄様は、美咲さんについていてあげてくださいませ。
You're being oddly nice.
コンクールが終われば、美咲さんとは和やかに話せないでしょうから、最後の晩餐ならぬ歓談といったところでしょうか。
So that's what you meant. My sister is quite the confident one. Naturally, Misaki shot back with her own retort.
ミチルこそ見送りの言葉を考えておきなさいよ。私が兄様と離れることなど。ああ、うなだれて帰宅する美咲さんへの言葉ですか。先輩とよ。あの時の約束、絶対に守ってもらうんだから。
Neither of them showed the slightest hint of yada yada yada. All things considered, having someone to compete with was a foolproof way of inciting motivation. Especially with me being the prize. But wouldn't this kind of situation normally entail two guys fighting over the affections of a lone heron?
では、兄様。また後で。
Right, take care. I watched Michiru disappear inside the school building and then turned to face Misaki. So you're nervous after all?
それなりにね。今日を目標にしてずっと練習してきたわけだし。でも、ミチルがいたから逆にいい緊張感が維持できてると思う。先輩だけだったら舞い上がっちゃってたかも。
Maybe you should have told her that.
いやよ。からかわれた挙句に感謝しろって増長しそうだもん。
Well, I guess even if you don't say it to her face, she'd still probably clue into it. Even if Michiru was aware of it, it'd be embarrassing for her to handle having it told directly to her. Which is why teasing Misaki is her way of coping with that embarrassment.
感謝することが多すぎるからね。ミチルと、もちろん先輩に対しても。それに、先輩以外にも感謝してるわ。両親とか、友達とか、言い出したらキリがないんだけど。
She suddenly looked up to the sky. Following her lead, I allowed myself to indulge in time's steady progression.
私が一番感謝して尊敬もしてるのはみーちゃんなの。尊敬っていうか憧れなのかな。
I think I kind of understand. I too admired how honest a soul Mio was. It was that honesty that made me want to help her.
みーちゃんはね、苦労することがあっても前向きになれるし、努力して乗り越えられる子なの。それで最後には一番になって笑顔で本当に嬉しそうにするの。
The way Miu faced her problems head on and tackled them directly was a great asset of hers. Even if people understood that you couldn't move forward without facing your problems, many still wouldn't be able to take them in stride like that.
だからね、私もみーちゃんみたいに一番になれるように頑張ろうって思ったの。
Misaki gave a bashful sort of smile. But no, this wasn't something I really felt like saying out loud. It wasn't just Miu who had the resolve to steel herself for challenges which lay ahead. Misaki had that kind of resolve as well. The Misaki I fell in love with, who would do everything in her power to accomplish a goal she had her heart set on, always had that kind of resolve. But if it was Misaki's own humility that had given her the resolve for this moment, it was better for me not to say that.
前にも言ったかもしれないけど、私っていろいろと家で習い事をさせられてるの。
Yeah, you did say that.
そのことに不満はないし、期待に応えようと思って努力してきて、その中で唯一自分からやりたいと思って始めたことがバイオリンだったの。大好きになったから上手くなりたいって頑張ってたの。
I know how hard you've been working, and I really do admire that. I had the feeling that would be impossible for me. To keep at doing something I felt was impossible for me, I admired that.
それくらい頑張らないとみーちゃんの頑張りには勝てないと思ったのよ。それくらい大事なみーちゃんを先輩は助けてくれて、感謝して先輩への気持ちが変わったのはあれがきっかけね。
Yeah, you started out viewing me as some kind of threat. In fact, I thought she was a lot of fun to be around. And once I learned she was Michiru's close friend, we grew closer. Thinking about it, we really have come a long way together.
そうね。でもそうやって先輩のことをしっかり見てたから分かったこともあるの。一緒に過ごして遊んで少しずつ知っていったの。私自身の気持ちも。
Misaki's lovely smile seemed to capture my heart in an instant. I felt myself getting excitable as well. But it was too early for that.
みーちゃんもね、初めて会った頃はすっごく頼りない女の子だったのよ。本当はすごい子なのに人見知りで、私がいないと自分の意見も言えなくて。
That was the same impression I had when I first met her too.
いきなり会った男の人と話せるような性格じゃないもの。
Misaki had a gentle look in her eyes as she reminisced.
私のことをすごいって、私と友達になれてよかったって笑顔で言えるようなすごい子なの。
She was undoubtedly reminiscing about something just between the two of them, something I didn't know about. I couldn't help but feel just a little bit jealous. Though whom exactly it was I felt jealous of, I couldn't really say for certain.
そんなみーちゃんがね、自分の思いのためにそれまでの自分から変わろうって努力してたの。
If she wanted to change, she could show courage. Her wish became a goal which allowed her to move forward.
努力してもっと素敵で憧れる女の子に変わって、私は自分のことのように嬉しかったけど、同じくらい焦ってたの。みーちゃんはこんなにすごいのにって。だから私も頑張らなきゃって焦ってた。頑張らなきゃいけないのにできなくて、どうしたらいいかもわからなくて、ひたすら努力だけして。
Even if something you strive for can be admired within arm's reach, when that goal becomes seemingly unattainable, your initial feelings start to grow hazy. Your brightest aspirations and feelings begin to wane, grow dim, and eventually fade away.
そんな時に先輩から告白されたの。
Sorry about that. I guess I really did jump the gun there.
本当にね、あの時の私は何もかも中途半端だったから嬉しかったけど、 あの時の私じゃ答えられないと思ったの。
Misaki wore a smile that seemed to wordlessly say, because I didn't have any confidence in myself. Because she didn't have any confidence in herself, the least she could do was just practice. Which was precisely why she was putting in so much effort back then, all on her own.
みーちゃんにバイオリンのことを秘密にしてたのだって。自信がなかったのね。上手くなってから聞かせて驚かせたかったのも本当だけど、今なら素直に認められるわ。
Misaki gave a slight smile as she said that.
ずっと昔からみーちゃんに勝てるものが欲しくて、好きなもので誇れたらって思ったの。だから最初は結果を出さなきゃって必死だったんだけど、その理由が先輩のおかげで変わったの。結果を出して自分を認められるようになれたらいいなって。
Whether that way of thinking turned out to be a good thing, I hadn't the foggiest clue. But if Misaki truly had come to view me as someone just as important to her as Miyu, that made me feel happy all the same.
結局何が言いたいかってことなんだけど。
Misaki's voice fell into quiet mumbling, making me tilt my head in perplexion.
ありがとね。
Yeah, you're welcome. I cracked a smile. It seemed a little late to be thanking me. Or maybe it was the right time. But it was for that reason that the smile quickly disappeared from my face. But still, you can't perform if you are not feeling your best, can you?
何言ってるのよ。先輩とこうして話してたおかげで気合もバッチリなんだから。
How's your wrist? I gazed at Misaki's wrist, my expression serious.
痛み止めが効いてるからそれなりに調子はいいわよ。
How can you call that feeling your best?
しょうがないわよ。誰にだってそういう時はあるだろうし、今の状態での万全ってことなんだから。
She kept trying to gloss it over, as if it wasn't anything of concern.
私以外の参加者でも今日になって体調が悪くなった人がいるかもしれないでしょ。楽器に問題が起きちゃった人もいるかもしれないわ。だけどみんながそういうことも含めてコンクールに参加してるんだから、それが勝負よ。
Misaki seemed to be in quite good spirits and didn't appear to be forcing herself at all. Oh, the irony. At the beginning, she had the skill, but not the will. And just when she was finally able to muster the will, she suffered an injury which ended up affecting her skill. However, if she hadn't been injured, I doubt Misaki would have been able to mature as much as she did. She was trying to face the major difficulty before her with a smile. It was the noble thing to do. However, if... I couldn't help but ponder over that one little word. Hey, Misaki.
大丈夫よ。
Misaki stopped my train of thought with words of absolute resolve.
私は大丈夫だから参加するつもりよ。
She wasn't going to let me say anything to patronize her. She wasn't about to let herself depend on me.
技術以上に大事なものを学んだんだから、トータルで見れば前よりもうまく弾けるはずだわ。
Misaki smiled. I could only pray she was right about that. After that, we didn't talk about her performance or the contest any further. Continuing to walk around the school building, we passed the time with idle conversation to allow Misaki to put aside the stress being put on her. Walking through the hallways, we talked about how bright and wide open the place felt with no one else around on a school holiday, and about which rooms the other clubs might hold their own activities in. As we were chatting, Michiru returned. Evidently, she had finished getting ready.
美咲さん、まだ話をしていたのですか？先輩を独占したからって怒ってるの？なんて色ぼけた発言なのでしょうね。もう開会しますよ。もうそんな時間？ずいぶんと悠長なことですね。準備が間に合わなくても知りませんよ。やることは全部終わってるから大丈夫よ。あとはステージに立って演奏するだけ。演奏するだけなら簡単でしょうね。いつも通りに演奏すれば結果はついてくるわよ。
Glancing at Michiru, I imagined she felt Misaki was brimming with self-confidence. Though for Misaki, playing like she always did was the biggest obstacle she had to face right now.
でもまあ、みちるにも先輩を貸してあげないといけないわよね。
逆ですね。私が美咲さんに兄様の時間を貸してあげていたのです。
They gazed into each other's eyes wordlessly, and the faintest of smiles came to both their faces.
ご健闘をお祈りしております。
みちるこそ、しくじらないでよ。
Though their exchanges were blunt, as competitors, it was befitting for them both. And then they shook hands, not just as rivals, but also as friends.
それでは兄様、また後ほど。
先輩、行ってくるわ。
Right, and remember, no regrets.
もちろんそのつもりよ。
In accordance with her words, Misaki walked off towards the auditorium as a contestant. I followed suit. Unable to do anything but wish for her success, I headed for the seats. Since we were talking until the 11th hour, Misaki probably didn't have to spend very much time waiting backstage. Ando, owing to her surname, that made Misaki the first performer. Though, in a way, it was rather unlucky, because being the first to perform meant she would be judged against all the performances which followed her own. But, given the painkillers she was on, it was probably for the best to just get it over with. While I was lost in thought, Misaki appeared on stage. The bustling auditorium quickly fell silent. Giving a bow to the audience, she then shifted into her playing stance without a hint of nervousness. Then silence. For just a fleeting moment. The air came alive with the flowing of notes. As if it were conveying her joy at finally being able to perform without restraint, the melody she played was bright and vivid. Her small body made big, yet also delicate motions as she played, which was definitely a crucial part of performing like this. Not bad. I'd heard her perform many times before, but this certainly wasn't bad at all. On the other hand, I couldn't say for sure it was her best. Maybe it was the suspense of performing at a contest like this, or maybe it was something else. I didn't know. I knew full well what she really sounded like at her best, so maybe was this just my fancy? I could sense an ever so slight stiffness to her performance. Were the painkillers wearing off, or was she just trying to be careful with her wrist? Or maybe those things were weighing on Misaki's own mind as well, and it was killing her ability to concentrate on the performance. However, I prayed she'd be able to pull through to the very end. Then, of a sudden, her face contorted in pain. The instant I noticed that, horribly off-key notes fell on my ears. Misaki seemed to be struggling to breathe. She was frantically trying to move her arms to play, and seemed infuriated that she was losing the ability to play correctly. Then, finally, her arm which held the bow fell limp. The murmuring of the audience filled the auditorium. Trying to defy the unrest, Misaki struggled to lift her arm again. But doing so only made her look pathetic. Sorry. Maybe it was her determination which pushed her to end up on stage like that, but I couldn't bear to see her this way. To drown out the noise, and to repent my own weakness, I took my watch and smashed it against the floor.
それでは兄様、また後ほど。
先輩、行ってくるわ。
Returning to 5 minutes earlier, I found myself at the literal last second. Misaki was still set to perform first, but this time it was a stroke of fortune. No, considering what I was about to do, it wasn't my place to be talking about fortune. Wait, Misaki.
何、先輩。もう始まるんだけど。
I reached out and grabbed her right hand on reflex. The juxtaposition between her arm and my own was rather troubling. Remaining that way and making absolutely sure that Michiru was no longer within earshot, I gazed directly into Misaki's eyes.
どうしたのよ、先輩。
Misaki, I really think you should withdraw.
何よ、いきなり。
Her eyes went wide as saucers. She was probably wondering why I changed my mind so quickly, since I'd just been encouraging her in spite of her injury. You know, your wrist isn't in good shape, don't you? There's no way you'll be able to perform in that condition. Her face stiffened. I knew she was determined to go through with it, but she was setting herself up to fail. Going through with it was a lost cause. I know how you may feel and what you may think about all this. But if the pain really is that serious, instead of forcing yourself, why can't you just take time to recover, then have a rematch with Michiru some other time? The tension drained from Misaki's arm. Even as I let go of her hand, she took not one step forward.
そうかもね。
As her prior concern dissipated, she muttered bitterly.
さっきからずっと違和感はあるし、うまく弾ける自信はないわ。痛くて途中で弾けなくなっちゃうかもしれないわね。
Her head drooped and she let out a sigh. But upon raising her head, her face showed no hint of depression.
でも、ここで挑まなかったらもっと苦しくなると思うの。ミチルとの勝負も大事だし、練習の積み重ねも発揮したいし、努力を不意にしたくもない。
You could still just wait for the next opportunity. I was still trying to convince her to back down. I had no idea what the hell I was even doing right now. But I only wanted to protect Misaki. However, Misaki shook her head, her smile unwavering.
そうね。いろいろな思いがあるけど、今じゃなくてもいいのは分かってる。でも、一つだけ、たった一つだけ、今じゃないといけない理由があるの。私は、私のためにやっぱり演奏したい。この苦しい状況でも前に進めたら、乗り越えられたら、きっと私を認められるようになるから。だから、先輩、お願い。
I had nothing more to say. I couldn't stop her after all. No wonder you're Miu's best friend.
当たり前じゃない。ずっと一緒にいるんだから、似てきて当然よ。
True. She was guaranteed to fail, but all the same, I wanted Misaki to rise to the challenge. I wanted to be there for Misaki as she faced down any obstacles she encountered, so that I could cheer her on.
そんな顔しないでよ。先輩が失敗するわけじゃないんだから。もっと安心して見守っていてよね。
Misaki.
もう、しょうがないな。
Misaki suddenly drew closer to my face. Then, suddenly stopping right next to my cheek. I felt a soft and warm sort of sensation.
これで元気出た？
All things considered, shouldn't I be the one giving you a kiss for good luck? I had to stop my hand from instinctively wiping my cheek.
おまじないは女の子から男の子にするから意味があるのよ。先輩からは私が優勝した後にね。
Seeing her smiling without a hint of anxiety like that strengthened my own resolve. Right, I understand. I'll be excited for that.
キスが楽しみだとか言わないでよね。私の演奏を楽しみにしてなさい。
I wouldn't dream of not being excited for that too. With a smile, she finally turned her back to me. As she whisked away and out of sight, I saw her off with a smile. It didn't matter if I'd turned back time, the result would be the same. Misaki's likelihood of failure was a perfect 100%. She didn't want to regret not doing something worth regretting. Yes, I couldn't change the outcome of her performance. For someone like me, who had the ability to manipulate time, that was the epitome of irony. Thus, I would make a choice that I deemed to be the correct one. A choice which lay outside of that 100% likelihood. As I walked through the hallway, I took out my phone and dialed Michiru's number. I wondered for a moment if she'd turned her phone off while waiting in the green room, but thankfully she soon picked up.
もしもし
Michiru, sorry, it's me.
ああ、兄様。美咲さんがまだ来ていないのですが、お話は済みましたか？
Yeah, she's hurrying on over there right now.
そうですか。時間に遅れて不戦勝なんて無様な話にならなくてよかったです。
Yeah, but Michiru, about that, I have a favor to ask of you.
喜んでお引き受けいたします。
I haven't even told you what it is yet.
兄様のお願いでしたら、みちるはどのようなことであってもウェルカムでございます。
Even over the phone, I could tell she was all smiles. And as always, when it came to asking favors, her obedience was second to none. Let's do this. Even while I knew that what I was about to ask of her meant that the lovely performance she so wanted me to hear would go to waste. Michiru, here's what I want you to do. It's about your battle with Misaki. I want you to concede it,